Hey Roosters, and welcome back to another episode of Making My Own TCG. In today's episode, we're going to talk about art, not just about this card game, but making art in general, and how it works for me, and how I'm going to be using art, or rather, how I'm going to be doing art for this exact TCG in particular. Hope you guys stick around. We have also some announcements to make, so don't go anywhere. To start off with the announcements, to get them out of the way so that we can get right into talking about art. This series I want to end at 10 episodes. We are on our 7th episode right now, which means that there's only going to be 3 more episodes after this, and then the series will be over, and that will mean the TCG will hopefully be published. The goal is by the end of the 10th episode, or rather during the 10th episode, before really the 10th episode even drops, the game should be up on the Game Crafter for you to purchase and get your hands on. So there's only a couple more things I really want to talk about in this series and really documenting the creation of my TCG. Of course, I could document every small step and every small hiccup, bump in the road and whatnot, but I think that'll become overly boring and overly tedious, really, because it's not really needed. When you get down to fine playtesting, a lot of it is just, I kind of like this more, kind of like that more. That worked a little bit better. And in the end, it won't really make for an interesting video or informative one. That being said, 2 more episodes, but at the same time, it takes time to finish a TCG. From the point of early playtesting to what we are at now, which is fine playtesting, there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to get into, and quite frankly, I don't think it's going to be done in a week or 2 weeks, which means the rest of these 3 episodes are going to be drawn out for the course of probably a month and maybe more, depending on how long it takes me to come up with new card ideas and art for the first set. Of course, I will be dropping a video probably relatively soon talking about all the things I want for the game, and as we get into actually the production of the first set. But other than that, I'm going to take probably a break from this series for a bit so I can make some other content about other card games that I love that I haven't made my own, such as the Universus trading card game and, of course, the Versus System 2 PCG that I love talking about on this channel that I've been doing quite a bit of. And I want to get back to it because obviously it takes a lot of time to make art and to create cards, and it takes a lot of energy too, and we don't have all the time in the world. So, now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the actual video. Now that we got the announcements about the trading card game out of the way, or rather the future of the trading card game, let's just talk about card game art in general and the art for this TCG, right? So art is very objective. It doesn't always have to be amazing to everybody for you to believe that it's amazing. Beauty in the eyes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's a famous saying that I'm pretty sure everybody knows at this point, right? And so you don't really have to create the perfect art on your first go round. Sometimes you can create subpar art and still love it, and as such, it's good enough. But what people don't often talk about is that there's objectivity to art, and art has an objective sense to it, and that is by your own standards. If you're trying to create a piece of art that looks a certain way, and it doesn't look the way you wanted it to look, then you can say that is not a good piece of art, right? And so I don't mean to say this because people don't like saying this because it makes people feel bad about their own art, because a lot of people already do that. They already look at their own art and say it's not as good as this other person's art, and as such, it's not good. And that's bad generally because it's going to make them not want to get better at it. But at the same time, there's something to be said about the fact that if you're going for something, you want to get there, and you have to make yourself improve to get there. If you're saying your art's not good enough as a way to give up on improving it, that's not good. If you're saying your art's not good enough as a way to motivate yourself to improve it, that's perfect. And so for this card game and for this series, I wanted to push the boundaries of what I was comfortable with, what I was used to doing in the past, which is just traditional art. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with creating just traditional art. Traditional art is a way a lot of people make their art, and I'm completely fine with that. And when it comes to homemade trading card games, there's a lot of ways you can implement traditional art. But I wanted to push the boundaries of what I was creating with my DCG by making the art digital. I use a mobile app so I can really work wherever I am called Adobe Fresco. What I did is I created traditional art and I uploaded it to this app, and then I started working on it and redrawing it digitally. And this is something new for me. I haven't really done this a lot. I mean, I'd be a liar if I said I'd never done it before, but the results were bad and I pretty much gave up on it for months and years, sometimes at a time, before trying my hand at digital art again. And so for today's series, for the card game that we're creating in this series, I wanted to do something more, something different, and I wanted to do this. back to the point of art being sometimes subjective but also sometimes objective. And it becomes a very interesting conversation when it talks about homemade trading card games. Because this isn't a card game I'm trying to sell to a big company. I'm not pitching this to Wizards of the Coast. I'm not trying to sell this at Walmart. It doesn't need to be amazing. In fact, it doesn't even need to be good. Not by even your own standards, even, if you don't want it to be. You can make it as bad as you want it to, and you can implement whatever you're good at, whether you believe you're good at, in creating your homemade trading card game. You don't have to push the boundaries, to push the envelope in any way. If you like doing traditional art and you like coloring in with markers, you can do that. In fact, you can create the entire card in markers and just upload that to Untapped or wherever else to the Game Crafter and print that out so it can be on better cardstock. But generally, you pretty much drew the entire card by hand. You don't even need to digitally edit the card. But I wanted to do this. I wanted to make it better than what I've done in the past by my own standards. But at the same time, I didn't want it to be too much like I've done in the past, better now. I wanted to have a certain feel that I wanted to create for this card game, the feel that I thought it was going to have in concept. And that's what we're going to be making in today's video. We're going to be drawing something that really I haven't really done before, or nothing like it. A new art style from the different many art styles that I've tried for the trading card game. I've gone through a lot of different art styles. As I change the lore almost every time, the art style has to change with it. If I'm going from a more dark story and to a more happy comic book cartoon story, the art changes and the lore changes, and so the game changes. The last thing I want to talk about in today's video is going to be the mock-up card. And if you take a look at the mock-up card, it has a lot of different features that you haven't seen before. If you take a look at this side by side between this mock-up card and the last mock-up card from our last mock-up card we created, it looks a lot different. There's a lot of different features here, and quite frankly, a lot of features changed, which is why they look so different. And I'd be happy to talk about that in future videos, but I don't think I have time in today's video. This video is directly strictly to art. But I want to talk about one last thing when I'm looking at this mock-up card, and that is art matters when it comes to art, to the card template. This is something that is ignored by so many creators, to the highest and to the lowest levels. The way the template of your card complements the art on your card is extremely important. And so even though I like this mock-up design that I created right here, I don't think it's the perfect match for the art style within the art itself, which is why I'm going to change it. And I just want to mention that because it is art related before I end off today's video. But I hope for you guys to be excited because I have a lot more ideas that I want to put into this card game. A lot of different things I want to change from even the version it's in right now. And I hope that it will be a beautiful little butterfly by the time the game is finally released. But that's going to be all for today's video. I did a lot of talking. Hopefully I didn't forget anything that I wanted to say to you guys, and hopefully you guys are excited to see more of this content in the future because there's still 3 more videos in this series alone to get finished, and then of course there's going to be some beautiful videos when the series is finally done and the card game is released, and of course there's going to be some versus system content, there's going to be some universes content, and I hope you guys stick around and watch that content too because I personally like the games and I hope you guys will as well. Hope to see you guys then.